Hello. So the first question I'm going to be answering today is about if I was to lead the project, what would I change or do differently? So the main sort of thing I would change is probably just the general actual structure of our entire project. I'm not too convinced that our project would actually work in the long run. I feel like it will have a lot of difficulty drawing in large amounts of people to want to participate in our program. And obviously, for the program to succeed, we do need people coming regularly, and numbers increasing over time. So to change this, I'd probably change it so that it's sort of more regular contact with people to make sure they're attending. People calling them, asking how they're going, um, and things like that, so that people can connect more and be more involved in it more regularly. So a bit more of a monitoring system on who is coming and who's involved. And I also think that this structure should also change in the sense that instead of having one main meeting place for the whole community, just have smaller meeting places located around that same community. Just because the community we did it in was quite a large, very very large, area. So I think we would struggle to get people coming from the sort of outer areas of that suburb coming to the middle of it, because it's sort of 20-30 minute drives. So if they can't drive, they're living alone and that sort of thing, it's going to take a lot of effort for them to make their way into the sort of middle of the community. So I think having sort of smaller meetup groups just around the community, and that means that people are more likely to attend, also more likely to attend more regularly. It also means the connections they're forming will be close by to them, so that if they are wanting to meet up outside of the group and that sort of thing, they could do that. And I also think this is I'll listen to the podcast about how to make your thinking sort of 10 times bigger. And I really think that our project, we sort of didn't really, we really limited ourselves in what we were doing. I feel like we were aiming for the achievable rather than sort of aiming for a project that would have been better and lasted longer, and had a bigger impact on the community. So while obviously the topic we covered was important, I feel like we could have covered a lot more within that. So obviously our population was related to older people living in the community by themselves, and we were looking at connections and relationships and sort of helping them form those natural relationships. And obviously that's not the only issue they face, so I feel like we could have covered a lot more depth, and a lot more issues that they were facing, whether it's actually mental, physical, environmental, and that side of things. So I feel like that would have been a lot better for this, and that was probably the main things that I would change relating to our project. However, in relation to the actual project, sort of one of my strengths and what skills I need to develop, so that if we're actually to lead the project and manage it, what would I need to improve on? So just quickly, the strength I see myself as having is I'm quite organised. I'm very good at planning everything out, and I'm also very good at formatting and structuring all the ideas and things like that on paper and in document and things like that. And I'm always a team player. I'm always happy to participate and put in all my effort into every task I'm assigned to. However, there's next to that is the things I need to improve on. I think the main one of that is actually bringing up those ideas that I'm having and verbalizing them to the group. Because I feel like a lot of the time I had ideas and I had things I wanted to share, but I just didn't verbalize them. I also think I really need to improve on just dealing with conflict and actually dealing with the conflict. So I know the conflict's there, but not actually addressing the conflict. And part of that is then related to I need to be a bit more authoritative, and I need to stop saying yes as much as I do, and to trust others to do the job. So that was one of the main things I think that I struggled with in this project, is that I probably could have been a bit more of a leader than I was. And the same thing, I sort of said yes to a lot of things, just purely because I didn't trust some other group members to do the job. So I probably put a bit too much onto myself to do, which then obviously impacted on the overall project. I sort of got this sort of came out quite a lot on the TED talk I watched, because it was really like about how people don't understand how processes work unless they really clearly outline them and map them out. So I think that the main source of conflict, I think, is that people didn't really understand what they were doing, what their set role was, what they had to complete. And so when it came to the end and things weren't done from other people, it wasn't necessarily their fault. It just wasn't clearly outlined what their job was. So I think to avoid that sort of conflict in the future, we really need to make sure that everyone understands what they're doing in the first place, and to make sure that it really is truly an open space. Sorry, that's my dog barking. So that it really is an open space and that people can share their ideas, because obviously at times I didn't personally feel comfortable sharing ideas that I had because I thought it would sort of cause some conflict, or like that it wouldn't be accepted and things like that. Strategies, that was probably the main strategies, that we just really, in future, just make sure I clearly outline what everyone's doing and that everyone understands. Overall, I guess it wasn't an area to improve, wasn't maybe not so personal, but our group never really had a clear set leader. It sort of varied between a few of us, and I think that was probably one of the main contributing factors to the reason why our project probably wasn't the best it could be, because we didn't really have one person to go to when we had an issue. We didn't really have one person to communicate with, one person to sort of communicate ideas to the group. So it was all coming from sort of different sources, and I think that caused a lot of confusion. So I guess that's an overall improvement that I know, that if I work with groups in the future, I can bring that to them. So that's probably one of the main areas for improvement that I can develop on. And another strategy I thought about was about being a bit more authoritative, because this sort of became a bit clearer as to why when I read the articles about the millennials in the workplace. I felt because we did have a mature age student in the group, I sort of felt like I couldn't be authoritative in that position, because I didn't really want to, because sort of someone who's quite a bit older than me, I didn't really want to come up against them. I didn't really want to challenge them too much. I think that's sort of part of the reason why I wasn't as forward with my ideas and wasn't really as authoritative as I could be. And over actually the past 6 months, but really I did actually have started looking into sort of conflict management and sort of self-confidence workshops. I'm actually thinking of attending at the end of the year, sort of before I start prac and things like that. And so that's another key area that I think I could improve on, because I think once those skills are developed and once I bring sort of those ideas about sort of having a strong leader into a group setting, I think any ideas and projects that come out of that group setting are going to be a lot more effective, and their ideas will be a lot more solid and a lot more understood by not only the actual group but actually by the wider community and the wider sort of organisation, because I feel like a lot of the times I didn't even know what exactly were the elements of our project, and if I don't know what they are, then how am I going to make someone else understand what is going on? That's my answer to those two questions, and thank you for listening.